All right, welcome back. This week we are going to answer the question that you will inevitably ask during your math career. When am I ever going to use this? And this is when. This is a great example of when you're going to use math in real life. When you're out shopping, when you're out at a restaurant eating, you have to start to think about things like taxes, tips, and discounts. And if you only have a certain amount of money in your pocket and you go to try to buy something, you have to understand that there are going to be taxes that are added to some things. If you're in a restaurant, you might need to add a tip if your server did a good job. And then you might have to take away some money if you get a discount of some sort. So if you go somewhere and it says there's a 20% off sale or 30% off or 50% off, you have to be able to figure that out so that you can know that you have enough money to be able to pay for something. So the first thing that we have to be able to do if we're going to talk about taxes, tips, and discounts is be really good at calculating percentages. And we did this in the last lesson where we used the percent over 100 is equal to is over of, and we calculated percentages. And we're going to do that same thing. So if we look at these first three examples, we have whoops, I don't want to do that. We have, it says 35% of $52. So if we think about our fraction that we learned about, it's percent over 100 is equal to is over of. So the two things we have here are the percent and the of. And this is something that I want to point out because whenever we are talking about taxes, tips, and discounts, we are always going to be finding the is. Okay, so the is, this is always going to be our goal in every single question that we calculate. Okay, so if we have 35%, so we're only going to be filling in those two that I highlighted red. So we have 35 over 100 is equal to x over 52. And so we'll cross multiply. So we have 100x is equal to, and now this is where we're going to need a calculator. So we do 35 times 52 on our calculator, and we get 1,820. And then we divide by 100. And when we divide this by 100, we get 18.2. But we're talking about money, so we want to make sure we keep it in the form of money. So we are going to write it as $18.20. Okay, let's do another one. So again, we're going to do the is of percent over 100 thing. And we're going to get to the point where maybe you start to see another method that you could use to do this. And if you see another method or know of another method, I am totally fine with you doing that as long as you continue to get the same answer. So here we have 20 over 100 is equal to x over $88.40. So now we're dealing with $88.40. So that's something that we can cross multiply now. So we have 100x. And then we need a calculator, so we're going to say 20 times 88.4. So we have 1,768. And then we're going to divide by 100. And when we do, we don't even really need a calculator to divide by 100. But if you need one, that's okay. Because when we divide by 100, it's just moving that decimal 2 places to the left. So we're going to have x equals $17.68. Okay, so let's do one more. So this time we have a real small percent. So I'm going to skip writing our basic fraction equation because we have it right there next to us. So we have 8.5 over 100 equals x over 229. Okay, so we cross multiply. The first one is 100x, and the second one is 8.5 times 229. So this one we end up with a decimal in our number, 1,946.5. And when we divide by 100, it's still just going to move that decimal 2 places, but we're going to have something we have to deal with. We're going to have 19.465. And that's not the way we write money, because money, we always have 2 numbers to the right of the decimal to represent the cents, right? And so since this is a 5, that means we're going to round the 6 up to a 7. So x is actually 19.47. And this happens all the time in stores and restaurants and places like that. When you buy something, their cash register calculates this for you and does all the rounding for you. So it might end up with a weird decimal like this, but it will round that number so that it makes you pay a certain amount of dollars and cents. And you might think, oh, that's unfair. I'm paying an extra half a cent more for this thing. Well, it all evens out in the end. Sometimes it'll round up, sometimes it'll round down, and it all evens out in the end. All right, here we go with some examples for you to do on your own. So you have these 3, 1, 2, 3. So remember, when you are done with this entire assignment, that you want to make sure you enter this into Schoology. Okay, so take a minute to do these, and when you're ready, you can keep going on the video. All right, the first thing we want to talk about, now that we know how to calculate percents really well, is taxes. And there are 3 things that we're going to talk about: taxes, tips, and discounts. And 2 of them make things we buy more expensive. 1 of them makes things cheaper. So the taxes make things more expensive because it's something we have to add to the price of something. So if we go to the store, in this case, this guy named Elijah was interested in the new Xbox Series X. And the price of the Xbox is $499.99, basically $500, right? He was able to find one at Best Buy in Maplewood, and different cities have different tax rates. And so the tax in Maplewood is 7.38%. Okay, so that means he's going to have to add tax. He's not going to add $7.38 to his price. He has to add 7.38% of the price to $499.99 to figure out how much he's going to have to pay. So to calculate that tax, what we're going to do is the same formula that we've been using all along. The percent over 100 equals is over of. And again, we're going to be looking for that is. We're always looking for is. But in this case, we have a percent, so we're going to say 7.38 over 100 equals x over 499.99. Okay, so we've got a lot of decimals that we're dealing with. The percent that we are dealing with is weird because it's got 2 decimal places, but that's okay. These are just numbers. We can use a calculator to calculate them. So when we cross multiply, we have 100x, and then we have 7.38 times 499.99. So this one we end up with kind of a crazy decimal. So we have 3689.9262. Okay, so I'm going to keep all those numbers for right now because I now have to divide by 100. And when I divide by 100, I end up just moving that decimal 2 places, right? So I end up with 36.899. And I'm going to stop right there. I don't need to write the 262 because I only want 2 decimal places. So I want to look at the third one to see what happens as far as rounding. So since that last number there is a 9, I need to round the previous number up to a 10. Well, when I round it up to a 10, what I'm actually doing is taking that 89 and turning it into a 90. Okay, so the total tax here is $36.90. Okay, so the tax that I'm going to pay, kind of using up a lot of space here, is $36.90. Okay, and so now the question is, what is the total price of the Xbox, including the sales tax? Well, remember I said that taxes are something that we have to add to the price of an item. So the price of the item is $499.99, and we're going to add the tax, $36.90. So you can grab your calculator to do this, but it ends up being $536.89. Okay, so you go to Best Buy in Maplewood with $500 in your pocket, and you don't have enough money because you forgot that there's going to be tax on something. So you want to make sure you have enough money, so you want to make sure you are able to calculate that tax that you have to pay. All right, so it looks like we have two examples for you to do or just one actually. It's one example to do on your own. Two questions, but one problem. So you're going to calculate the tax on a set of Apple AirPod Pros. And when you're done, you can continue the video and we'll take a look at another example. All right, the next thing we want to talk about are tips. And tips are kind of like taxes, except tips are something that you decide whether or not you pay one or not. And whereas taxes are something that you just have to pay because the government wants their money, right? So in this case, you tip people who do things for you, to provide a service for you. So if you're in a restaurant and somebody is bringing your meals to your table, you generally would tip that person because you want to make sure they know that you feel like they did a good job. Or when you get your hair cut, sometimes you're going to tip the person who cuts your hair because that's just something that we do in this country. So here it says Caitlin went out to get her hair done. She got her hair cut, colored, and layered for a total of $140. Because the service was so excellent, she decides to leave her hairstylist a 25% tip. That's a generous tip. So how much money will she leave as a tip? So we just want to focus on the tip part, and we're going to do the exact same thing that we've been doing. The percent over 100 is over of, so we're going to say 25% over 100. And remember, we're always finding the is, so our x is going to be in the top of that fraction always. And the total is 140, so we're going to put that down on the bottom. So now we can cross multiply, so we have 100x equals 25 times 140, so that's 3,500. And then when we divide by 100, we get x is equal to $35. Okay, so she's going to give an extra $35 because she felt like the person who cut her hair did an excellent job. And if you look at the picture, I would say, yeah, that's a nice looking haircut. Okay, so the total price for her haircut, including the tip, remember it's a tip, kind of like a tax. We add it to the price. So we have to say 140 plus 35 equals 175. So she paid $175 total for her haircut, including the tip. All right, here we go. You get to try one on your own. This guy's taking his date out for dinner. See if you can figure out what the total cost of his dinner was, including the tip. And when you're done, keep going with the video and we'll go through another example. All right, the last thing we want to talk about are discounts. And discounts are different than taxes and tip because discounts make the cost of what you're buying go down. So the only difference here is going to be what we do at the very end. Instead of adding to our price, we're going to subtract from our price. But everything else is going to be the same. So in this example, it says when you're shopping online, there's a Chrome extension called Honey that can automatically find all the best deals for you. Suppose you were shopping online and found a purse for $68, but Honey found you a promo code on that website for 30% off your entire purchase. So how much money will you save because of the promo code? So basically, we're going to do the exact same thing that we've been doing. So we take 30 over 100 because we always have our percent over 100. And then our is what we're looking for. And our cost is $68. So we're going to cross multiply here. So we have 100x equals 30 times 68. So it's 2040. And then we're going to divide by 100. So when we divide by 100, we get, this is another one where I'm going to keep all those numbers because it's money. $20.40. Okay, so she is going to save, or you're going to save, $20.40 when you use that promo code of 30% off. All right, so now to find the total cost of the purse after the discount, what we're going to do is just subtract $20.40 from 68. So if you just grab your calculator, $68 minus, so this is where it's different. Remember, with taxes and tips we would add, but this time we're subtracting. So when we subtract $20.40 from 68, we end up with $47.60. And whenever you're doing discounts, it's always a good idea to compare your answer to the original price, because your answer should always be less than the original price. All right. Wow, now you're going out and buying a car. You guys don't even have a driver's license. You're going out and buying a car. So see if you can figure out what the new price of this car is going to be with a 9% discount. And when you're done, make sure you enter all of your answers in Schoology so that you can get credit for this.